Hi everyone, this is Rebecca. I'm back for part 6 of my 2025 Niagara Falls OCB Figure Show Prep series. This was originally going to be my final episode, but we actually qualified for a pro show. So what an incredible weekend we had. So on August 16th, 2025, I competed as a figure competitor in the OCB Natty Niagara event, along with some other wonderful, beautiful young ladies. I was the old lady of the bunch for sure. So I competed in the open category, the 35 plus category, and the 50 plus category. As in my first competition a couple of years ago, I won the 50 plus because I was the only competitor. So, but the 35 category was definitely more challenging. And for that 35 category to qualify for a pro card in the OCB, there had to be at least 3 competitors, and there were exactly 3 of us. But I was at least 15 years older than the other 2 competitors. I'm 60. So my coach, my husband, my son Daniel, and his wonderful girlfriend Kelsey, and a very dear close family friend of ours named Annie all came to the show. I also know that I had a lot of friends and family that were watching from home and cheering me on. All of my friends at my home gym, I know were cheering me on, and that really meant so much. Let's go back in time a little bit to the couple of weeks before the show. So as time progresses, the calories get a little bit lower, the cardio gets tougher, and you're still working out because you're trying to get yourself as lean as possible. Because remember, we want to look like an anatomy chart. We want to be able to see all of those separate muscles that we work so hard to build. And I got pretty lean, leaner than I had for my first show. And I actually managed to do really well. I didn't have any really bad days. There were a couple of days when I felt weak. My strength definitely began to decrease, but for the most part, my attitude was good, my body was holding up, and I felt good. Peak week was a little bit different this time around, and one of the things that a competitor will tell you is that every prep is different. So we got closer and closer to dialing things in this time around. Every time you do this, you do get better at understanding your own body. So peak week went really well. We got to Niagara Falls, and on Friday I had my first layer of tan, and the folks that did the tanning were just wonderfully sweet people. And then we spent the rest of the day on Friday just relaxing, eating, taking pictures, finalizing, posing, all of those things. Then Saturday was the competition. As I said, there were a total of 5 female competitors in the open category, and then 3 in the Masters 35 category. Now, I've said before that the notion that a 35-year-old would be a Masters competitor is a little ridiculous, and that I think you should be required to prove that you have stretch marks and that you are at least in menopause, if not post-menopause, before you can consider yourself a master. But I suppose the OCB gets to choose their criteria. So I was competing against much younger women. And so when I got there, and after everybody was backstage, and after everybody was getting glazed, so you get a tan, and then right before you go on the stage, they glaze you, they shine you up a little bit. And as I'm standing there with these beautiful young women, and by the way, I was the oldest female competitor across all of the categories. I think there were 1 or 2 men that were competing that were older than me. But as far as women go, I was I was the old lady. And as I'm standing there and looking at these young, beautiful bodies with tight skin and no scars, no wrinkles, no sagging skin, I thought to myself, this might not go the way I want it to go. So going back again, about 3 years ago, when I was first working with Cassandra and we were getting ready for our first show, I dropped a bomb on her. I told her my goal is to become an OCB Masters Pro by the time I'm 60, or at least by my 60th year. And once I verbalize something, it's go time. Well, I had set that goal for myself, and Cassandra knew that was my goal, and I'd shared that goal with a couple of other people to help me stay accountable, one of which was another bodybuilder who I got to know over Facebook by the name of Matt Butali, aka Zeus. And of course, my husband, my best, closest friends, I had also shared that little goal. But as I said, I'm backstage and I'm looking at all these young bodies, and I realized that it wasn't going to happen. I'd worked really hard, and I knew that I had brought a better package this time compared to my first show 2 years ago. But I didn't really see any way that I was going to win the 35 plus category. So I had to adjust my expectations. I had to say to myself, I'm so proud of you. You kicked butt, and just go out there and be a queen. Just go out there, stand tall, show them the work that you put in, and just have fun. So I did that little shift in my head. Now, after the show, my coach let me know that she was standing backstage with me, and she's looking at my body lined up against all these young women, and she's thinking to herself, she might just do this. We got on stage, and again, everything felt really good. I was a little wobbly, a little nervous, but I just kept reminding myself, stand tall and have fun, and I did. And I had so much fun with the people backstage and all of the OCB folks. They were just wonderful. So it came time for them to call the placements for the 35 plus. And I didn't think I was going to come in last. I believed that I was going to come in second. So I'm backstage, and they call third place goes to, and they named the number of the competitor. And she went out, and the audience applauded. And then they started the phrase, and second place, and I literally started sort of moving forward. And then they said the other woman's number. And I had this sort of out of body experience. My knees buckled a little bit, and I just sort of froze, and then emotions just washed over me. And everybody backstage was like, get out there, you won. So I went out there. I was very emotional. Took me a while to calm down. I didn't want to be out there sobbing. But it was just emotional. It was a dream come true. I really had not expected it. I had hoped for it. I had worked for it, but I had not really expected that it would happen. But it did. And it was so wonderful to have my husband by my side, Cassandra, Annie, Daniel, and Kelsey, all there. And again, all my friends rooting for me. So what do we do next? Because at the end of September 27th and 28th, is the OCB World Championship kind of Super Bowl of that federation, called the Yorton Cup. And my coach, Cassandra Grippi, is a Yorton champion. She had won a few years back, actually shortly after I met her and started working with her. And of course, that's the pinnacle. If you can qualify for the Yorton Cup and go, it's a big deal. And by getting my pro card at Natty Niagara, that meant I qualified for the Yorton Cup, 6 weeks away from the Niagara show. And we all decided, my husband and Cassandra and I decided, let's not even think about the Yorton Cup until tomorrow morning, until Sunday. So we all got some sleep, had a nice dinner afterwards, and then we got up Sunday and we were sitting around the breakfast table at the hotel. And I looked at Cassandra and I said, what do you think? And she said, there are more masters. There are going to be more people your age at that competition. And you won't win because you'll be up against women that have more muscle and that have more experience. But she said, if we can get you in even more condition than you are now, and we can nail down your posing even better than it was. And by the way, thank you to Autumn Cleveland, because my judge's feedback was great and my posing was great. But Cassandra said, if we can get you even more lean and nail down your posing, I'd like to shoot for top 5. But then I had to look at my husband, because prep and dealing with somebody who's going through prep is a difficult thing. And I looked at my husband and I said, honey, what do you think? And he said, I get a little emotional, but he said, you have to do it. And then I looked at my son and I said, Daniel, what do you think your mom should do? And he said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. He said, you're 60 years old. You don't know what another year brings to your life. Anything could happen. You're qualified now. You have to go. And so the decision was made as a family, and certainly Cassandra's family. So we made the decision to do the Yorton Cup. So that meant that we got about a day and a half of eating whatever I wanted to eat, including this amazing brownie that Cassandra gave me backstage that had caramel and chocolate and ooey, yummy goodness that made my eyes roll back in my head. It was so good. And I got my margarita and some other good food, but that meant then that we were back to work. So that's where we are now. So the Yorton Cup is September 27th. We have just shy of 3 weeks left. I've been spending the last 3 weeks just trying to dial things in. I've dropped about 2.5 pounds more, and we're probably looking at trying to drop 2.5 to 3 more pounds. So now it's getting tough. Now it's getting challenging. My body wants more food, and I'm still doing well, but I can really see a drop in my strength in the gym, and a drop in intensity. Still trying to push really hard, and Cassandra is really emphasizing getting plenty of rest and recovery time, and that's where we are. So we're still going, and we will see what happens September 27th. But top 5 or not, what a privilege and a joy it is to make this journey with the people I love, with such a supportive team, and we will see what happens. Peace.